What's up? What's up? What's up? Let's see. So waiting for my mobile stream to start, and I started a little bit early. Started a little bit early, so just waiting for a little 5 minutes. Something a little bit different today. If you're in the chat, make sure you say hello and make sure you drop your questions in the chat today. So let's see, make sure this is all situated. How y'all doing? How y'all doing? Just waiting for more people to join the live before I get started today. Just doing a little bit something different. So I want y'all to drop your questions in the chat before I get started. And hope you all can hear me. Hope you're having a good week so far. So we're talking about some apparel today, and I'm talking about it in a vertical live today. I want to see if it gets a little bit more people. Just a little bit testing. I might not be able to, really show some stuff. Let's see if I'll be able to. No, I don't think I'll be able to really show as much as I can with a vertical live. But in terms of yeah, I won't be able to show as much in the vertical live, but obviously, I'll if you guys ask for it, I'll drop videos on it and make a little bit more of it. But we're gonna give it a couple minutes here for more people to come in, and we're gonna talk about today's topic is we're gonna be talking about how to price your custom apparel without really underselling yourself. Essentially, why I really wanted to talk about this topic is because a lot of times when people reach out to me to do some printing done, get some printing done for them in terms of a custom shirt or something like that, especially if they're trying to sell it to somebody else, a lot of times they usually just they have the number in their head, and when I give them my number as to what I would sell them for, they're like, oh wow, like this is not what I was expecting. So I think a lot of times people need to learn how to, price properly and accordingly, especially if they're going to be getting it from somebody else. They need to be able to price accordingly before, to suggest selling it to somebody else. So if you're making t-shirts, hoodies, or even custom merch, and you're still asking yourself, what should I charge for what I'm doing, then this live is for you, because let me tell you, most brand new owners, they're usually underselling themselves and undercharging themselves, and usually their first time as a first drop, they're usually losing money on their first drop. So it's better for you to learn how to price accordingly before you move forward. And I get it, it's your first time. You don't want to scare off customers. But if you're not pricing accordingly and correctly, you're not building a business, and all the work that you're doing is basically all for nothing because you're hustling just to lose it all. So today I'm gonna break down exactly how to price your apparel, step by step, what to include in your cost, and how to think about your time, how to set up bundles, and how to avoid looking like an amateur. So if you've got any questions, anything about custom apparel, printing, DTF, or running your brand, drop them in the chat, and I'll answer them at the live end, and I'll be able to help you out. So let's start here, and let me see if I can move this up a little bit. So yeah, let's start here. Why does pricing even matter? Because if you're not profitable, you're just busy. essentially you're just, like I said, you're just working and working for nothing in return. And too many people in our space are working hard with zero margins because they're trying to race to the bottom. And I know it's not, and I know it's easy to sell 20 shirts and feel like you're winning, but after materials, transfers, shipping, time, you've only made like $4. So you need a pricing method and pricing system that protects your time, covers your costs, builds towards profit, and not just popularity. So like I said, like I said, I dealt with this a couple days ago when somebody was saying, "Hey, I sold this T-shirts to a company for this amount of money, and they're coming to me, and I'm doing all the calculations in my head, and I'm about to I'm giving them the price, and they're like, oh wow, like." This is actually way over budget and actually losing money from what I priced them at. So I had to essentially, they had to be like, hey, what can we do to get to this point so they can make a little bit of something, just so that they can get by and, start doing business again. So, just from that, they learned a valuable lesson off that first drop was just saying, hey, I lost money on my first job. Before I do any calculations on anything, before I do any pricing on anything, I need to make sure that my calculations is right. And that's actually one of the biggest reasons I created my gang sheet calculator on my website, because it help people calculate like, okay, hey, if I'm about to press this many t-shirts, at least they will know that, hey, this is the pricing for the transfers that they're gonna get from me. At least they have that pricing. But everything else, like, how much time you're gonna be spending doing it, how much time you're going to be spending doing it, how much electric you're going to be spending, everything else that has to do with your utilities and things like that. You need to be able to account for that in your pricing. So you can just say like, hey, I'm getting transfers for $5, I'm going to sell the t-shirts for $7. No, you still need to account for your blank. You still need to account for your blank, which should be anywhere from $3 to $6 a piece, or even more if you're looking to do more high quality premium blanks. I just bought a blank from Los Angeles Apparel, and the blank they're retailing that same blank for $26. They're still retailing that same blank to the public for $26. But me as a wholesaler, I can get that same blank for $9. So that's a high premium blank. That's a very high premium blank that you should be if you're trying to do like a streetwear blank or something like that, that's a blank that you should be using. But apart from that, if you're just trying to do like a regular blank t-shirt, you should be getting blanks from anywhere for $3 to $6 a t-shirt. So think about that. Boom, $3 $3 to $6. That's what you're charging for your first one. And then you have your transfer, depending on how big your transfer is. If you're just doing like a full front t-shirt, that's probably another $3 of t-shirts. So you have to think about your blanks, your transfers, your labor, the time that you're gonna start using to take it, to do the job, the packaging that you're gonna use to ship out the job. Like if you're going to be using poly bag, if you're going to be using stickers, thank you cards, something like that, your shipping materials, and and any like software tools or electric that you're using to account for your business, whether it's you're using QuickBooks, whether it's your website, whatever the situation is, you need to be able to account for that. So once you account for all of that, it's like, damn, that's now I know how much my actual cost is to print for somebody, to do something for somebody. And then from there, you can price accordingly. That's taking every single thing into according. That's taking everything into account when you're pricing for your job. You're taking your blanks, your transfers, your labor, your packaging, the shipping materials, and all the things related to your business, like your software, your tools, and electric. So that's one way. So that's the real cost of pricing out something. And if you add all of that up, you easily hitting $10 to $15 for just for your first just to make your first t-shirt. So you need to be able to, you need to be able to price that and say, okay, I'm making I'm making a t-shirt for $10 to $15. And keep in mind, folks, like, this is if you want to, if you're selling your t-shirt to the public, like if you're selling it to like a specific niche that you're targeting. If you're making your t-shirt for $10 to $15 and you're trying to make some decent money out of it, then you should not be selling that t-shirt for anywhere less than 30 to 30, anywhere less than $25 to $30. Or, and if you're, like I said, if you're doing a high-end t-shirt, and and you think you can get away with selling, if you can get you think you can get away with selling that t-shirt for anything, if you can get away with selling that t-shirt for more, then you can probably get away with selling that t-shirt for more than like $40 to $60. It just really depends on what you're doing. But as long as you have that pricing foundation, you're not going to be losing money. So what's and I talked about that before. Some of the biggest mistakes that some of the beginners make before they start selling is, they one thing that they do is pricing out, telling the customer that they're going to sell a t-shirt to them for this amount of money without knowing the actual cost of what their t-shirt is. So with that pricing method and going over what we just talked about earlier, you should be able to say, hey, this is everything that every time that I'm pricing a job, this is everything that I need to take account for. I need to take account for it before pricing it. So let's talk about some of the mistakes that some people make. Number one is copying other people's pricing without knowing their cost. I've seen that multiple times, especially with me as a franchise. I'll post something on my social media or on my Instagram page, and all of a sudden you see multiple people using it on the franchise, using that same thing. That doesn't work. We're in a whole You might be in a whole different market than somebody. You might be talking to a whole different people and trying to sell to a whole different people that not might not be, that pricing doesn't work out for them. So you need to be able to know your own pricing. You can use somebody else's pricing as a base point, but you need to actually get beyond those numbers to say, okay, this is my pricing for each thing. Number two, guessing instead of calculating. Like I said, if you use the prior things that we just talked about, we should be able to know, like, hey, this is everything that I need to be able to price out this job that I am doing. Another thing is not charging for your time. Pressing shirts takes a lot of time. Packaging takes a lot of time. You need to be able to account for all that time. How Simple question is, how much are you worth? How much are you worth? How much do you think you can dedicate? Is it $16? Is it $17? And with that, calculate it. Okay, how many t-shirts can you realistically get done in that hour of time that you think your time is worth? And price do that calculate do that division, and you should be able to calculate your time. This is how much each shirt costs. This time limit each shirt costs to make you, and that might be different for each people. You might have an automatic press, somebody else might have a manual press, somebody else might have a double press. That might be different for each people, so it's all taken account to that. Pricing emotionally, I know people don't like to hear it's too expensive. But if you're hearing it's too expensive, then that's good. You don't want people. That's what I've heard before in the past. You don't want people just paying your price and just keeping it going. You want to get some pushback a little. Every once in a while, you want to get people that push back and say, hey, your price is too expensive. That way you know that you're pricing accordingly. That way your price is not the lowest to the surrounding people. So when people are telling you, hey, your price is expensive, that might be a good thing, because you'll be able to see, okay, this is a good medium point for where I'm able to sell things for. And if you're still in this chat, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Make sure you like and subscribe. I appreciate that. Make sure you drop a super chat so I can keep coming back and give you more information about this. So yeah, and then the last thing I want to talk about is giving discounts before not having any profit built in. You can't have a price. You can't be giving out discounts before you don't have any profits. That doesn't make any sense. So that's why when people sell 100 t-shirts and still can't re-up, inventory, it doesn't make sense. You need to be able to make sure that you're profitable and able to re-up on that inventory that you're doing. So yeah. So like I said, that's a simple formula. A simple formula to use every time is, blank plus decoration plus packaging plus time times two to three equals retail. So your blank t-shirt plus a transfer plus let's say your blank t-shirt costs $4, your transfers cost $2.50, your packaging costs $1, and your time costs three. So what does that cost? That's $10.50, of cost. So what does that mean? If you do 2.5, that's 26.25 retail. Boom, you're pricing like that. That's how much you should be pricing retail. It's $25 or so for your shirt. And if you want to charge premium and act like it. Do better mock-ups, act better content, better experience, or even do better packaging, or you can even do better t-shirts and branding. Something as easy as changing your branding and your t-shirt, and even changing the way people view you as a brand is a simple way to make sure that you're pricing accordingly. So, how to it's basically it's thinking like a business owner. It's just a mindset shift. You're not just selling t-shirts. You're selling trust. You're selling your brand, and you're selling delivery, and people are paying you to handle that food process. So if you think in Apple, like if you think something like Apple is charging $1,000 for a phone, they're not charging $1,000 just for their phone. They're not charging $1,000 just for the phone. It's because of it's because of the experience, the design, the name. That's what Apple is charging for. So you have to think about your custom apparel brand as the same thing. Your brand is you're charging for your brand experience and how much people are paying for your brand. So if you just keep pressing in your bedroom, you have to like act like it and own it, but charge it like you're running a brand, not just like a flea market type situation. Um, I know, I'm gonna sit in here for a little bit and just kind of get some work done. If you have any questions, I'm gonna be sitting in here, and just let me know. Things like, how much should I charge for hoodies? Charging for hoodies, you can charge anywhere from $40 to $60 for a hoodie. For a good premium hoodie, you can charge anywhere from $40 to $60. Um, should you offer discounts to friends? I think that's all up to you. But if anything, it shouldn't be anything more than 5 to 10%. You shouldn't be going into your own pocket to give out something to a business. So that's why I recommend is like, hey, anywhere from 5 to 10%. That should be a good enough discount to be giving friends and family. What's a good price for bundles? If you're doing something like t-shirts and you're trying to sell like 100 plus t-shirts to like a brand or something, I would do no less than $15, because at that way you're getting bulk rates at that point, and I know at that point you're pretty much trying to sell to a big brand. Um, how do I price for oversized prints? I would add anywhere for $4 to $5 extra, especially. And the biggest thing also when I tell people is like when you're pricing your t-shirts, don't forget to price for like extra large. So your 3XLs, your 4XLs that people want to buy, they cost a lot more money. So make sure you add a good $4 to $5 for that. Should you offer for free shipping? Free shipping, yeah, especially if you're a good brand and you're not consistently shipping something. So offering shipping for, especially if somebody spends like $100 plus with you, offering free shipping for that, it's always a good deal to add on. That's always a good way to build some brand loyalty as well, and so that's always a good way. So one thing I always recommend is that if you're trying to build your brand, like the one thing that you can always do is just show up consistently for your audience. You want to just be in front of their face and find your audience wherever they're at. If they're in Pinterest, if they're on Google, if they're on Etsy, if they're on, wherever your audience is, that's where you need to find your audience. I know a lot of people are advertising on TikTok right now. I haven't found a way to advertise on TikTok, and like if you like, we're in a live questions and answers segment. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop it on the chat. Feel free to like the video as well. I appreciate that. But like I said, a lot of people are advertising on TikTok right now. That's a good way for clothing brand owners that have been really blowing up. That's a good way to really get to the next level as well. So if you have anything else, any questions, feel free to drop those. Feel free to drop the questions in my chat. One thing I want you to do is like also just remember this. If it's blank plus decoration plus packaging plus time times two to three. That's the best way to know what your retail price is when pricing your custom apparel. So how much do you get your planks for? How much do you get your decoration for? How much do you spend your packaging and time? And don't forget to remember, don't forget that a lot of that stuff is bulk too. So if you're buying that bulk, make sure that you know your real cost. Charge like it's an actual business, not a hobby. Stop letting what if they say stop letting what if they say it's too much scare you. That's just, if the people are saying that, like I said, that's a good thing. That means your pricing is a good it's at a fair point where it's not too low and it's not too high. But the biggest thing is that you need to make sure that you're selling first. The other thing is building your profit first and create a system, not chaos. So if you need help printing your designs, getting your gang sheets made, or even starting your brand, that's what I do. I help you print and ship transfers nationwide, fast turnaround, and I also coach people to how to grow their brand and as well. So make sure you check out the link in my bio or shoot me a DM. I appreciate you all tapping in. Don't forget to subscribe. And I'm gonna hang out here for the next 8 minutes. And you know, well, no, sorry, not eight. I'm gonna hang out here for a little bit. If anybody has any questions, you can answer. If not, thank you for hanging out. It was a good 7 p.m. live. I see a couple people still coming in and out of the live, so I don't want to end it abruptly. I did say I was gonna be in here for 30 minutes. So thank you again, and yeah, and I'll be able to repurpose a lot of this stuff. For people to use. But the biggest thing, and like I said, and I'll make sure that I end this, is that blank plus decoration plus packaging plus time times 2 to 3% should be your retail price for how much you're selling your blank floor. So how much do you get your blank shirt for? Is it $4? How much do you get your DTF transfers for, or whatever? Or if it's your embroidery or wherever the situation is for, how much you get that for? How much is your packaging? How much do you calculate your time for? And if your cost is $10, then you multiply it by 2 or you multiply it by 3. So your retail cost should be $20 if you want to sell on the lower end, to just for you to get started and get some type of profits, so you can start replenishing your product. That way you're getting a good margin of 50%, $10. That way you're able to use that $10 to get more products. But you should be selling your shirts for, if it costs you $10, you should be selling for $20, or anywhere from $20 to $30. If it costs you $30, you be selling it for anywhere to $30 to $60. That's the best way. And you can sell it for more to $30 to $60 if you're doing, like I said, if you're doing more of premium t-shirts. So thank you again. Great live. Appreciate you all stopping by. And if you have any questions, feel free to shoot me a DM. Drop some comments in the live, and I hope that this was helpful to people, and appreciate y'all, and have a good rest of your night.